First, though, is it right to cut foreign aid to fund more spending on defence? That's the question. So you've seen this announcement, and let me show you. We've given you a kind of a seesaw here, because what our government has done is it's linked defence spending, the tank over here, with foreign aid given to other countries, so that if one goes up, the other goes down. That's just, as they see it, in the nature of it. So defence spending goes up, and the corollary is that foreign aid goes down. And the key figure they're aiming at here in this kind of seesaw between defence and foreign aid is to try and get our defence spending to 2.5% of GDP. So what they said, Keir Starmer says, it's increased 2.5% of the UK's GDP by 2027 from the current 2.3%. We'll hold that figure there, keep it in mind. Foreign aid, they're reducing the current spending from 0.5% to 0.3% of GNI, slightly different measure, gross national income. So let's bear this 2.5% in mind. That's what they're aiming for. And also bear in mind that Keir Starmer, in the next few days, is heading to America to see this gentleman who's fast almost becoming a kind of caricature of himself. And he's going to say, OK, Mr. Trump, good news, 2.5%. And Trump is going to say, I want 5%, because that's what he said already. 2.5% is not enough for Donald Trump. And it's worth just thinking for a second about how radical this Trump 2 administration has been. Worth remembering what happened in the USA when Trump 2 started. This is their foreign aid agency. They have sliced it to ribbons. 2,000 jobs. That says, actually, the workforce slashed from 10,000 to under 300 by Musk. So that is their foreign aid. And you don't get a clearer symbol than this. There's the sign on the building, covered by a black bin liner now. They then bring in, this is day 2 of the Trump presidency, they bring in a cherry picker. This guy here has some sort of chisel. I've focused, I think it's an electric screwdriver. And he's taken the letters of the US Aid Development Agency off the wall. That's all you've got there now, OK? That's in week 1 of Trump. Is this empty space where foreign aid used to be, is this what Donald Trump wants from us? Because if it is, Keir Starmer, Yasmin, is going to have to go further, isn't he?
Well, he doesn't have to do any of that. But
we started.
But he will, because he's cowardly and he doesn't live by any principles. But we have to ask, why are they picking on foreign aid? First, they want to lock up completely the avenues for migrants, even those who are escaping disastrous zones, wars. The West doesn't want them anymore. But the West doesn't even want to help them sustain their miserable lives in their home countries. Worse than that, across Africa, not only China, but America and the UK and the rest of Europe is busy trying to exploit the resources of Africa without giving anything back. In African countries, most of the leaders are corrupt, they're being bribed. And I find it astonishing that with a Labour government, that we have this, we'll sacrifice those people abroad. And he said something really strange, which I just noticed. He said that the aid budget, I didn't know this, did you, Jeremy? In recent years, the aid budget has been used to pay asylum backlog.
Well, it's partly going on hotels for asylum seekers.
So it's not going there at all.
No. And weirdly, this is the strangest. They think that if they clear the asylum backlog, they spend less money on hotels. The money they save, they use to spend on defence. What do you think of it, Nick?
No.
Let's just get a comment from Nick.
No, sorry, to correct you, that they would spend it on aid, not defence, is what he said.
They're going to spend on aid what they save on hotels?
Yes.
Well, at the moment, they're converting more and more hotels for asylum seekers. So, I know in my area, they've just very recently converted 2 more hotels. I don't think it's they don't want to spend money on aid. I think you and I agree they have to increase the defence budget. Do you? Well, OK, fine. So, for me, the primary duty of any state is to ensure its security. And
what's the threat, actually? Is it Putin?
I think there's a worldwide threat.
Yeah,
but the immediate,
if the threat is Putin, why is Trump cozying up to him?
Because he's trying to defuse that threat.
Oh.
He's trying to come to a deal with him to defuse that threat.
Okay.
But he also says at the same time, this is what I'm doing. I've paid for a lot of this. I've been the main contributor for Ukraine, and it's not really my problem, it's your problem. You need to up your ante and contribute more of your budget to defence, and we're behind. 2.5% is too little, and to be honest, it's too late. Starmer's clear last week, Jeremy. One of the cabinet ministers, when pushed about what they were going to do about the defence budget, said, "Well, we are going to increase it. The idea would be to increase it to 2.5%, but I can't tell you when." What's happened now is, yes, it's going to happen by 2027. Starmer will be cannibalised by Trump if he hadn't at least said, this is what I'm going to do, and the ultimate aim is to get to 3%.
Isn't he going to be cannibalised by him anyway?
Probably, but less so. There'll be a part of him that remains. There'll be a part of him that, unfortunately,
his teeth.
comes back to this country. So we have no choice. If we don't secure ourselves, there'll be no question of aid or anything for anyone else.
Why don't you think we need more defence?
Can I just say one other thing?
Quickly, yeah.
We've got a stagnant economy, okay? We need to raise the money from somewhere, and the area of least resistance is, in fact, foreign aid. And at the moment, we're giving money to India, which has a larger GDP than us.
And the space programme. Yasmin.
No, I agree about India, but actually, I'm not talking about India. I'm talking about other countries, which the West, is exploiting and corrupting the politicians and leaving the poor people to have no hope. But let me just go to the defence budget. You know, the Defence Department is like the royals. There's something so emotional about them that the people will give any amount of money to them. So let me be very
They haven't been.
They have demanded, they will not object. We know the Defence Department has been shambolic.
Yep.
Its projects have been miscosted.
Like every other department.
No,
like every
it's
other
much
department.
worse because nobody dares to say, let's reform our Defence Department. We're constantly being told that Trident is a proper deterrent. So why didn't it deter Putin's ambitions in Ukraine or Crimea? We need to really think about what the defence budget is, how our money is spent.
Okay.
We are thinking
We're going to
about
go to our
it.
break. Let's pause, okay, because we've got a great discussion here. I want to get some calls in as well. Do get in touch, 0207 862 2222. And just going back to this thing about do we need the more defences? We are at risk here, aren't we? Yes.
We need a better, more efficient Defence Department. What I don't think is right is for it to just be given money without any of the watchfulness that we should expect from all governments, right or left.
But do we not need what they used to call manpower? Because at the moment, our army wouldn't even fill Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
We're heading towards, at the moment, will very soon be the lowest number of army foot soldiers for 230 years.
Yeah, and we need to build that up.
And you know, just after the Cold War, the amount of budget was 8% for our defence, and we're now talking about increasing it to 2.5%.
But what I'm saying
we're
is
sleepwalking into the most dangerous situation since the Second World War.
But what I'm saying is you have to do it efficiently. You build up the army. But we just had this case. Women were invited to join the army. And we have this case about this poor woman who hanged herself and the sexism in the army. All kinds of things need to be looked at.
Of course, Yasmin, we've just given the National Health £22.6 billion over 2 years. The waste in the National Health at the moment. Do you know they spend £2 billion on compensation?
About the army.
No,
I'm talking about the waste in the army.
There's massive waste in all government departments. You and I can agree about that. The point I'm making is, yes, they need to become more efficient. They need to become better, but they also need money. If we don't secure ourselves, there'll be no money for anyone anywhere.
They will not attract good people unless they change their culture.
Right. Well, maybe we need to do what Trump is doing in the USA and start by saying, if you're a civil servant, you'll send us what you did last week, a list of 5 things, and if you don't reply to this email, you're fired.
No, well, sorry. I'm really pleased we're not living in America. We're not like that.
But part of this is the blob, isn't it? We've got this massive civil service that works for itself.
What are we doing here? We're validating the absolute vandalism of Musk and Trump by saying we need to do the same.
It's trying to get the system to be more efficient.
You can make the system more efficient without being mad like those two men are.
Well, hang about. Well, we can't blame them for the inefficiencies in our bureaucracy.
No, that's what I'm saying. We should deal with
all
that.
Our bureaucracy is look at Whitehall. They're all working from home.
Jeremy
they don't want to come into work.
Jeremy asked the question, should we be doing what they're doing? And I'm answering that.
We'll get to the civil service to justify itself. Yeah. Because
Absolutely.
Because what
everyone needs to be accountable.
I don't know whether in the States they'll end up with something more efficient because they decided to start from the basis that you don't have a job unless you tell us what you're doing.
And what if it's not just that? We don't want you to do this. We don't want you to be bothered about foreign aid to the US aid,
We've got lots of other.
a lot of Americans are appalled about.
All right, we're trying to get calls. Our phones are broken at the moment. 0207 862 2222. Do keep trying to call us. We'll try and get you on if we can. Go on.
They'd be more appalled if Russia decided to invade us and we're not in a position to defend ourselves.
Are you listening to me, Nick?
What would you be saying then?
Are you listening
what would you be saying then?
Are you listening?
I am listening to you.
I've said we need to make our army more efficient. Yes, give it more money, but a lot more needs to be done.
Well, I agree with that then.
Okay,
I agree
so
with that.
why are you not listening?
I agree. Everything needs to be more efficient.
Yeah.
This country
I'm talking about the army.
I'm
Let's
talking
do it
about
first.
everything.
Okay.
The NHS needs to be more efficient.
Is it not possible we've got the wrong kind of army anyway? We need to be more on the SAS, drones, crack units.
Yeah. Look, without money, we're not going to improve, are we? It's simply not going to happen. We need
Then
to
we
be more
should
efficient,
also-
but we need the investment to become more suitable for modern day warfare. But look at Russia and Ukraine. It's boots on the ground by and large, isn't it?
It's so interesting.
It's infantry
Yeah.
and it's weapons.
You would think we would have gone beyond that, but we haven't.
No, the alternative is you press a button and bye-bye everybody. That's it. That's the alternative.
Go on, Yasmin.
Yeah, no, but also I would expect you to say that the wastage and the projects costing billions, which came to nothing, that the army has been responsible for under various governments. It's not even to do with...
I'm not justifying the inefficiency.
No, but we need to stop that, don't we?
We do.
It may
I agree.
be you can find money from defence from within defence. That's the really clever solution, isn't it? So you say, for example, come off it, we don't need Trident. We're not going to nuke anybody. We saw that from Ukraine. We're not going to nuke Moscow.
We're not going to nuke anybody.
So stop Trident and pay for soldiers, pay for squaddies.
No.
Why not?
You have to have that ultimate deterrent. Otherwise, you're a minnow and someone can say, we're going to wipe you out and that's it. And we're not going to be in a position to say, if you do that to us, we'll do it to you.
But then
there will
the
be
world
consequences.
ends.
There
The
will be
world
no
ends.
consequence. Not if we're not in a position to defend ourselves. Not if we have that deterrent, that nuclear deterrent, anyone who says to us, we're going to do it to you, they know what the consequences are. If we can't do that, there are no consequences.
The consequences is the world ends. Nuclear weapons, the world ends. We're never going to use Trident, and we can reuse some of that money. I'm not saying don't give, actually an intelligent approach is needed.
All right.
Not an old-fashioned approach.
I apologise for the phones. I apologise our phones. We really wanted to hear from you on this, and I know you've got things to say, and I'm sorry if you called and you haven't got through. It's our fault. Kay on Twitter has got in touch and says this is definitely the right decision from Starmer, and look at this. He should cut all foreign aid. It's time this country was put first for once. It's I don't know, it's where populism does take you into a zero foreign aid budget, doesn't it?
I think many people think that foreign aid it goes to Africa and it's taken. It doesn't reach its destination. It doesn't actually, by and large, do the good it's intended to.
No.
Because as you've said, Yasmin, there is so much corruption there. So when that big fat check comes in, someone says, "Oh, that's nice. Thank you very much. I'll go and buy my fleet of cars."
No, when it's done well, and we have been very good at it, because there's been monitoring of the really good effects of our money are in schools, in the lives and possibilities for young children. And if people say to me, are you proud of being British? That is the one thing that makes me really proud, or used to.
So where's the money coming from, Yasmin? To increase our defence, where's it going to come from?
We could tax the very rich.
Do you know what?
We could tax the very rich.
Can I stop you there?
No, we can get the... Sorry.
Can I stop you there?
I'm answering your question.
Well, yeah, let him come back. You said tax the very rich.
I want to answer my question.
We've got breaking news. Someone has got through on the phones.
Thank you.
Incredibly. Sharon, well done in Staffordshire.
Good morning, Jeremy. Good morning.
How was that for you? Were you getting an engaged tone or what?
Oh, I was. I couldn't get through, Jeremy, but I
I'm
haven't
so
laughed,
sorry.
thank
Well
goodness.
done. What do you think? You've got the final word on this. Do you think that Starmer is right?
Starmer is 1,000% right. We need to cut the foreign aid a lot more, not just what we've done now. We need to cut it a lot more because our money needs to stay in our country. Our people need our money. Who's giving us foreign aid?
A lot of foreign aid at the moment is going to hotel bills in this country for migrants. Now, I don't know what happens if they start to cut that.
But Jeremy, a lot of the foreign aid are going to countries, India, China, that have got more billionaires than we've got.
Well, I don't know about China. I don't think it goes to China.
Sharon, can I ask you one thing? Do you feel the same way about our contribution to defending Ukraine?
I do indeed. I don't think we should be defending Ukraine either.
All right. Sharon, listen, thanks so much. And well done for getting through. Stephen Aberdeen, hello.
Good morning.
What do you think, Steve? Keir Starmer's got this done so he can go to Trump. It's no coincidence, the timing, is it? He's going to go to Trump and say, guess what? We're going to spend more on tanks.
Well, you know what? I think Donald Trump is trying to use this world and he wants to be the puppeteer. I don't think we should be cutting foreign defence, and I certainly think we've been giving too much away anyway. And I do believe that anybody that's protecting this country, they should have the correct and safe, be safe doing their job. And I just think that it's amazing what he can do and what he can do with the public money, but yet he's taken billions away since he's come into power. And yet I just think that he's got it wrong. He's got it wrong.
He's got it what? Is he wrong on foreign aid, Steve?
He's got it wrong overall. Why? We give too much away anyway. So, yeah, that's a good thing. But then to put it solely on defence when there's other pressing things within the country that he's meant to be looking after, and yet he's not doing it. And it's all of a sudden that Donald Trump's come out the woodwork, that he's pushed us.
For sure. Thank you very much, Steve. And, of course, I suppose foreign aid has gone out of fashion because of Trump a bit. I know that Yasmin will disagree. Angela in Tyne and Wear, hi.
Hello.
Is Starmer right to do this?
My thought on this is that the foreign countries that need their aid, the foreign aid, actually don't get it. They don't get this money. The reason why? Because the governments are greedy out there. I'll give you an example of a country like Uganda.
Oh, yeah.
Uganda need a lot of foreign aid to help the country because it's a very poor country. This is where I migrated from myself before I became British. But the poor people there don't get the money. The money stays in the government. And another way I'm looking at it is that we need the defense in this country because the terrorism are going to look at that as an attack like, oh, now Britain hasn't got this enough support so we can attack it in that way. And that's the way I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, the foreign aid people don't get the money anyway.
OK, well, I hope they find ways of getting the money to the right target. But thank you, Angela. Paula in County Down. Is Starmer right to take it from foreign aid, put it on defence?
Yes, I think that, as far as Starmer's concerned, I don't agree with a lot of things he's doing. I don't think that giving lots of money the way he is, thousands and millions actually of money outside our own country when we really need things here. We've got all these illegal immigrants coming into our country, being put up, being given money, and our schools are crumbling, our hospitals are on the knees. I mean, I just think it's all ridiculous. I know that lots of these people coming in are coming here and causing lots of problems in our country.
Well, let's not be too general, but I know Yasmin will take issue with that.
Yeah, I think that's really unfair. I think it's really unfair. I understand what you're saying. Our hospitals and schools are crumbling, but at the same time, we're cutting taxes for those who can most afford to pay and should pay more, and we're punishing those on benefits. The people on benefits. Can I finish, please? Stop interrupting.
What cutting?
We're not cutting
So they're
taxes.
cutting down on benefits. So I understand what you're saying, but please don't generalise about the people who are trying to seek sanctuary.
Paula,
Not all of them are what the tabloids tell you they are.
Paula.
Yes.
Sorry, are you being unfair when you say people come into this country and cause trouble? Some of them are fleeing awful basket case countries like Syria.
Well, obviously, not everybody coming in. I wouldn't mind if they were coming in legally, but all these people coming in boats illegally, we don't know anything about them. They're not documented. We know nothing, and we're putting them up, spending loads of money that we can ill afford when our own people need the money spent on them. It's our taxpayers' money.
Paula, thanks so much. When the flow of these calls, every single person saying we shouldn't be spending money on foreign aid, I'm starting to genuinely think that Nigel Farage might win the next election.
Without question.
Without
question.
You think so?
Without question.
Because it's the way the world is going.
As long as he gets proper MPs, he's definitely going to
We're heading into that world. The Trump is not the end of it. It's the start of it.
It's the start
No,
of it.
I don't think you're right.
Right.
I do not think you're right. Life is cyclical.
For sure.
Don't build up Farage the way the media has been building him up. Everybody's been building this guy up, which is why he is where he is.
Well, Trump can cause problems for Farage as well, by the way.
Of course there are, but I just want to know which taxes have been reduced.
Reduced for the rich.
You said the taxes have been reduced. Which ones?
I didn't say taxes.
For the rich.
You just said the taxes have been reduced.
Oh, the top tier. The top tier that Starmer promised they would be paying more taxes.
It hasn't been
They
reduced.
immediately withdrew.
But it hasn't been reduced.
The amount they said they would tax them.
It hasn't gone up.
It hasn't, no. And also, they've dropped it.
Okay.
They found dropped ways of making sure the rich don't pay as much as...
Which tax have they dropped?
The very top tax.
Which one are you talking about?
I don't know the names of it. The top
What is it,
tier
income tax?
was meant to be paying more taxes. They're not paying more taxes, and they've negotiated deals with Reeves and Starmer, which means they're not carrying the burden.
We may not get to the heart of that. Thank you. Mark is in Leicestershire. Hi, Mark.
Hi, morning, and morning to the panel.
Is Starmer doing the right thing?
Side note, Starmer is doing the right. I was just going to say Nigel Farage absolutely will be the next Prime Minister.
Well,
there's no question about that. Hopefully, it will be in less time than the 4 years. He's right to cut foreign aid. We need people. We need a person in power that is going to look after their own country first. Does he need to spend it on defence? I think he's coming from the Russia angle. Russia are no danger to us whatsoever at all. So maybe spend it on our pensioners, maybe spend it on our homeless veterans, and maybe spending it on a deterrent for these illegal immigrants coming in on small boats. OK,
thank you. Martin in Shropshire, do you agree with Mark?
Morning, panel.
Morning.
Well, I think it's the first sensible thing that Starmer's done since he's been in office. I do agree with one thing Yasmin said, that he don't think he's got any principles. But I think when we're facing a £3 trillion national debt, and the interest bearing on that is too much. And I think reducing the national foreign aid budget is a sensible thing. I think it needs to get to 3% by 2030, and we could reduce that by reducing the mad climate change budget, getting rid of the 25,000 civil servants since COVID, and starting to reform the welfare state.
OK, Martin, thank you very much. Thank you. We've had so many calls now. Great to hear from you. Let's move on and talk.